Hey everyone, welcome to the Industry Show. I'm your host, Nitin Bajaj, and joining me today is Satish Polisetti. Satish, welcome on the show.
Hey, Nathan, looking forward to the conversation. Nice being here.
Likewise. Now, let's start with who is Satish?
I think I describe myself probably as a student, somebody who's always curious to learn and looking at new things always. In addition to that, a father for two kids, a husband, and a student at heart.
I love that. I love letting curiosity drive where you're headed next. And we'll talk a lot about that
Uh,
in the next few minutes. So,
yeah.
I'm very curious, and this is the first time we are doing this. Very curious to learn about your startup, Polymorph, which had a successful exit with no less than Walmart. So tell us why you started Polymorph, what was it? And then since the acquisition a few years ago, what has it transpired to become and what kind of impact have you been able to create through it?
Yeah, sure thing, Nitin. Like many of us in the audience, probably I'm a immigrant, born and brought up in India, and I came to US to do my master's in UC Berkeley. After my undergrad in British Pilani, I came to UC Berkeley to do my master's. And as a part of the master's program, we were solving. This was the time when mobile era was just kicking off, right? 2010-ish, 2007 is when iPhone came in. So 2010, 11, the first app store launched, and a lot of apps were being built. The big question that was being asked was how does human verification work on devices? So if you know these olden days, there used to be these squiggly little characters called CAPTCHAs, which
Mhm.
used to be shown to a user and say and asked, "Hey, how do you solve this CAPTCHA?" You had to type all these things. So they were okay for a desktop, but actually doing on a mobile device is extremely hard. The mobile device is meant for swiping and clicking and not typing. So essentially, that is when we started looking at how can a user interaction be with a CAPTCHA on a mobile device. So we built this interesting image-based CAPTCHA. We filed a patent for it. It's now referenced in a Google patent and things like that. But yeah, eventually we took that school project or a college or like a university project and converted it into a company. Had initial bumps in terms of like product market fit and all of those funny things, which people have from -1 to 0 and 0 to 1. And then we came into a very interesting situation where a chocolate company, Mars, they came and said, "Hey, we want to show some unique experience." I have Nitin Bajaj focused on solving this capture for 10 seconds. That's an amazing eyeball time for me. So can I build some unique ad experience? Out of that is what Polymorph was really born, where we were trying to monetize a custom ad experience and we did not have any off-the-shelf software to essentially make that happen. And that is when Polymorph kind of like was born to essentially make many other developers like myself super easy for them to monetize their eyeballs and applications and games and stuff.
That's very cool. So walk us through maybe the 1 minute version of the acquisition and what maybe was the conversation if we should exit, should not exit.
Yeah, that's a fun part of the journey, right? We basically did our seed round financing, some extreme came on board. We had some very good advisors. We did a round as well. And then we were coming close to our Series B, I would say. That is when we were having the conversation on how much capital would it essentially take for us to get to the next level versus the other way around and stuff. So we essentially like then said we should start talking with all the large companies where we are a natural fit in terms of a business development opportunity. That is when we made a gigantic list of companies that we should potentially be working with. And then out of those conversations, a couple of them expressed interest to take it to a more strategic level. And then we said, okay, we'll conduct like a process. And then we went through that entire process to say, okay, who else is interested, and went through the acquisition. It took almost like, I would say, 6 months from the first initial intent of interest to come through. But anyway, that's how we approached it more from a BD angle. And then from there, it evolved into an acquisition opportunity.
That's relatively very quick, I would think. So walk us through the
Yeah.
timeline. So you launched what in 2010, 2011?
Also, we launched in 2012ish, I would say. The early versions of it is in 2012, 2013. So did our seed round in 2013. A was in 2016 timeframe. And then the exit was 2019. So overall, I would say it's about a 6 to 7 year journey from seed and the Series A were like rightfully timed, 2 to 3 years time frame and stuff like that. And then the acquisition part in itself, yeah, the 6 month was good, but I would say the intent to get a signal also was something that we were planting the seeds. So almost I would say 12 months before we started like, having conversations with these large companies, so that you're planting the seed. And then once the intent came, it was reasonably okay to execute from there. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Now, the acquisition happened, and that I think in and of itself could be an entire episode. So we'll park that.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to know, once you became part of Walmart,
Mhm.
what has that journey been for Polymorph, right? So you went
Yeah.
in, you were working with a certain number of clients,
Yeah.
but then Walmart comes in. How did that transform the company, the business, and the technology that came with
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Great question. I think Walmart, Nitin, in my opinion, is not very well understood by a lot of people in
it?
the valley. Obviously, like Walmart is a gigantic organization, Fortune number one in terms of revenue. They have 5,000 different stores across the US and many around the world and stuff. But even more fundamental is I think Walmart is a very down to earth, humble, good organization, very at the top in Walmart. And primarily, they've been growing with a lot of acquisitions going way back to Jet.com and many other brands after that. And so we joined a part of a sub team inside Walmart called Walmart Media Group, which later now is known as Walmart Connect. But this is the team which basically did the acquisition of the company. And yeah, and the company was very humble and nice. They gave us a period where we were able to support other clients because it's important that our software was the top three priorities of the CEO. We are directly a monetization software. It's a revenue software. So any disturbance that we basically are creating, our client CEO's job is on the line, right? So it was very important for Walmart to understand that as well. So we had a grace period of almost, I would say, 9 to 12 months where all the clients slowed were given notice seen through so that none of that is getting disturbed. And once that has happened, in parallel, we ensured that all the integration into the core Walmart systems was happening as well. So that way we ensured that we were not burning the bridges with our past clients and also ensuring that we were accelerating our integration into the Walmart stack and stuff. But yeah, if anybody out there, I would recommend them to look at Walmart. It's a company which has maybe 20 inside it, ranging from healthcare, advertising, energy, finance, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fascinating company, and I've had the fortune to know a few people that have been
Oh.
instrumental in a lot of the parts of what Walmart is today.
Yeah.
And also, I would imagine the conversations that you had with your existing clients, very delicate, very nuanced. That's an amazing experience and exposure to have. So really happy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we had some parts were white glove. We were very in deep with them. We were probably the first early companies to adopt the Slack channels back then. So we would give a lot of customer success support for a company which was doing 25K ACV all the way to $1 million ACV. So we would really be, yeah. So yeah, it was an important way to, I mean, again, world is small, everything comes back. Karma is there. So ensure you're not burning the bridges with anybody, right? I mean,
I'm curious to ask you about the size and scale when you got into discussions with Walmart to say a couple years down the line when you were fully integrated. If you remember the numbers, or if you can just give us maybe
yeah.
some percentages.
Yeah, it was almost for me, it was like going from one startup to another startup in a gigantic because yes, we were doing a pretty decent size of revenue. We were doing like close to 25 to $30 million in revenue when we were here on this side. When we went there, the existing revenue was almost like 10x of that. But still, in the lens of a Walmart, that's probably like a chump change and stuff like that. So we barely, I think, about 50 to 60 people when we joined that entity. So the engineering team was small, the business team was small, everything was very. And the core product that we essentially integrated and deployed and stuff became foundational to some important product lines at Walmart. And we were fortunate to basically see that about like double, triple by the time we essentially started going into other parts of Walmart. I spent about 2.5 years at Walmart Connect, helping either integrate the technology or pick up some other parts of the advertising products that are being built at Walmart. And then the fag end, the other 2 years I spent in supply chain and other parts of Walmart. But yeah, extremely amazing to see the growth. And sometimes it makes you feel that if a large elephant moves, it's drum roll. We would scratch our heads to crack a contract for $1 million. And here you are like basically getting pouring requests from companies, big brands. Oh, yeah, take my money, take my.
Yeah.
It was good to see that market pull for a product that was there, and also a company like Walmart.
Fascinating experience.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
moving on to today's time, I would love to hear from you what is the biggest challenge you're facing?
Yeah, good point. I think the current wave that we are seeing in AI is incredible, right? It's an extremely amazing tailwind, and the amount of things that we're able to do with that is also extraordinary. At the same time, never has been it's so difficult in order to do customer acquisition, right? Building from a concept to like an MVP has become so much more easier. And when people used to talk about, oh, we have to set up data centers, you guys have AWS. Now it's like even more, right? Now I feel like I'm of the past generation and stuff. So
Yeah.
more easier, but I think customer acquisition continues to be and probably will be extremely more difficult and stuff. So I think that's one aspect that's like top of my mind in terms of any business idea that either I'm investing or to like potentially be engaged in part-time or full-time capacity that I'm putting a lens on. And I think like second time around, if I had to do another company, I think the conviction building is going to be like even more harder. I think the naivety of the first time
Yes.
exist anymore. You are like in your early 20s and stuff that doesn't matter, just go do it. Now you have a baggage of that experience and things that slow down. So I think how do you overcome that inertia? How do you overcome that conviction building process? And also customer acquisition. I think those two, I would say, are like top of my mind in terms of things to solve. It's not unsolvable, but yeah, so good hurdles at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Challenge nonetheless, but good ones to have. Now, on the flip side of challenges come opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one that's most exciting you at this point?
Yeah, I think we are looking, or I'm thinking more on what will the next several years look like, assuming that there's going to be a lot of like foundational model development and stuff like that, right? We know there's a super intelligence paper out there. We've seen things. I think where our curiosity is going is how does spending a lot of time at Walmart, what does commerce look like in 3 to 4, 5 years from now? Where does advertising, that's a good amount of time that we spent on, where does that kind of go and stuff? We've been talking a lot about efficiency and automation on the enterprise side, Nitin. That's another angle that is like curious to us, which is how does efficiency like in the personal life as well. So those I would say are like the curiosity idea spaces that I think underserved at this point of time, but potentially have a lot of gold mines to dig and stuff. Yeah, advertising, commerce, efficiency, productivity, home assistance, all of that.
I'm very curious to find out where you head into, so would love to bring you back on and see what you've come up with over the next few months. Now, as we look forward, I always love to pause, reflect, take a moment, and ask you to share 2 moments in your life, career, uh, or personal, where in one instance, things did not work out as you had expected. There was failure, lessons that were learned from it, and another instance where things took off and became a success beyond your imagination.
Yeah, okay, good one. I think the big failure, I would say would be like hiring too soon and not really understanding product market fit, maybe. I think we burned through a decent amount of capital trying to staff up a pretty senior leadership, sales leadership function. And I think in retrospect, we probably should have let the founder sales go on for some more time before we essentially do. I think, yeah, now there's so much amount of literature, advice, and stuff that is definitely available. But yeah, when you're in the playground, in the war arena, you sometimes miss that and stuff. So I think there's nothing wrong to. I think the leaders that we recruited were great. I think the process was great. Think as founders and early team, we should have got the right signals and said what should potentially be done. So I think that's one lesson that I think about, which is, yeah, be truly genuine to yourself, if there is product market fit, how fast are you growing, is the founder-led sales, or is it like a machine already built and stuff like that. A lot of companies, a lot of venture firms are talking about it for sure for aspiring entrepreneurs now. On the other side, in terms of the success, I would say the acquisition in itself, Nitin, I would say is like a decent. We didn't plan for that kind of an outcome.
Right.
We didn't plan getting into it and stuff. Neither we did expect that everything to go in that particular fashion. But if I just retrospected, I think we kept at it. Some of our values, grit. I think a lot of immigrants potentially have that grit, bias to action. Everybody talks, oh, Amazon is a customer-centric company, but
Yeah.
we were taught that when we were like small, like kids back in India, about customer success and stuff. One story which always sticks with me. I was in my grade 10. I was studying for my board exams and stuff like that. And my dad had a pharmacy attached to the house. And then somebody in the middle of the night at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. rings the bell and then he goes down, gives the medicine and comes back. I was like super curious, dude, like, what are you doing at 2
Yeah.
morning? You're like missing your sleep going down. And he sold like a stomach pain tablet, which was like, if I convert into dollars, 1 cent or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And on that, what margin would you make? Like really less. And then he was, Satish, you can quantify the profit we can make, but can you quantify the pain of the customer, right? Things like that are really stuck with us. So I think some of those principles are important. I think where I'm going with it is, I think every company and every founder need to figure out their unique strengths honestly to themselves. Somebody can't fake to be a deep tech person or a great salesperson or a customer success. I think whatever functionally very key to you, I think you only will know about that. And then others you can complement. But there should be some core skill sets that unwaveringly should be good to that founder. Yeah.
I love that connection. And we've seen this growing up, as you said, these things, these principles are ingrained in us as part of our culture, as part of our
Yeah.
values. This was, I wouldn't say our families, parents hammered that into us. They just lived by example.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so natural to us. And I think one of the things you talked about immigrants that I believe and have come to know is true is the aspect of adaptability.
Yeah.
Because we've moved across countries, across cultures, we are
Yeah.
very adaptable to our surroundings,
Yeah.
which helps us become and be very successful as entrepreneurs, because that's
Yeah.
one key tenet that makes you be resilient, but also continue to have that grit. So
Totally. Totally. Yep. Yep.
now, a couple of quick questions for you. What do you enjoy doing as either a de-stress or something where you're hanging up the boots, if you will? What's that one activity that you really enjoy?
Yeah, I came to this recently. There was a period in time, obviously, like many people played a lot of cricket
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But somehow that has been like in the back burner for a lot of period of time. And then my grown up right now, my elder son, he's been asking me to teach him or play with him a lot. And then I noticed that now I'm watching a lot of these snackable bites about
Mhm.
either cricket or soccer populate my YouTube feed. YouTube does an amazing job. The moment you search for something, your entire feed is like cluttered with that, right? So I think that is one that I'm doing a little bit. Generally curious about different concepts and different people and different influences that way. So I'm not a Instagram kind of a guy, a little more of a Twitter and X kind of a guy. So I consume that to like wind down a bit. And then, yeah, as I said, like the kids are now coming to an age where I am meaningfully enjoying the parenting part. Maybe the early years is not, it's more chorish and this is more fun period probably. So that's another. My wife brings an amazing angle to our lifestyle and what we do as a family and stuff. So yeah, that occupies decent amount of me time and stuff. Yeah,
Very cool. Very well rounded. I
yeah,
truly
yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
that.
Totally,
Uh,
totally.
any book or a podcast that you would like to recommend?
Maybe a bunch of your audience might have heard. I've been hearing All In podcast for the last, all the 200 episodes or more than that. Definitely heard all of that. Great addition to the drive time. Acquired is another podcast that I've been doing, and their long form content is very well done for sure. Yeah, those two. And then in 2021, 22, that time frame, somebody connected me and started showing how strong Bhagavad Gita is. So
Mhm.
once in a while, I get some interesting quotes that they shared and look at. But yeah, those are probably my recommendations.
Yeah, and I love all of those.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
on to my favorite part of the show. We call this the one-line life lessons. Would love
Mm.
for you, Satish, to share your life lessons with us.
I don't know the author or who said it, but maybe some things that always stick with. I think one from the Gita, right? I mean, like, you can control the effort and control the outcome. You can tell that in multiple different variations and stuff like that, and it's important. I think also I remember an episode where I was meeting one of my friends. This was in 2012. The company was not going anywhere at all, and he was like, "Satish, are you sure that you are putting your level best? And only that matters. Nothing else matters." If you are not sure that you are putting your 100%, 200%, nothing else matters. So I think, yeah, that is one thing that sticks with me, like how you can control the outcome, you can control the effort you put in. That sticks with me. Recently, Naval had an interesting thing in a concept around when people were asking about magic and life and existence and science and all that. He had something in the line, life and existence is magic, but everything after that is science. Something in that lens, which is, yeah, it's great. The existence is magic, but everything else after that is the curiosity. So I think that stuck with me a little bit. Also had another episode of maybe all of us are like trained to be little like mammals and lions. We probably will sprint for a lot of time, then we rest, and then we again sprint for some time. I look at entrepreneurship and stuff like that. Almost you sprint, you do something, and then you again maybe dial it down and stuff. Yeah, those are some things that probably stick with me. Others are all values, maybe, Nitin. Yeah, same thing, like bias to action, just have an open mind, curiosity mind, just say, I don't know. That's so much more easier than trying to defend a point of view and stuff like that. But yeah, again, I'm too young or to basically say any of these bigger things. But yes, those are some of my principles I try to live by.
Satish, thank you so much for sharing those and
Yeah,
also for sharing your journey and story. Congratulations on all the successes so far. And I
thank
know
you.
there's many more to come. So
Thank you.
would love to bring you back on here in
Sure,
a short time
definitely.
and talk about your next journey.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Nitin. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I've been a big fan of your content and so many seasons. But kudos to you as well for putting so much amount of effort to bring a large community of builders to talk about the story. It's always inspiring. Thank you, man.